that is important as well. All right. So I'd like everyone to stand up, please. Everyone stand up. And let's do a stretch. Arms above your head. As high as you can on your toes. Let's stretch. Oh, there we go. Over to your left. Off you go over to your left. And then over to your right. There we go. And out to the back. Stretch back. And let's touch your toes. All right, everyone. Our next speaker is Fritz. So super excited to have him here. He's from Infinity IT. So Fritz and Johan, his partner, are here. And yeah, Fritz has basically ticked off one of his bucket list trips, which is a trip to the Amazon. So I'm going to hand over to Fritz and a little bit more about Fritz's bucket list.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to reintroduce myself. So my name is Fritz Beumer. I'm from Infinite IT Solutions. We are a technology company based in Middleburg, Mpumalanga, and we are in the process of opening another branch in Mbombela. So our company has been going for about over 12 years, and we've experienced essentially the same problems that every single business owner experiences. And the best for me is when someone comes up to me and says, listen, I can't wait to start my own business. I'm going to have so much more time. I mean, I know each and everyone knows that that's not the case. Once you start your own business, it's going to be less time, more stress, etc., etc., etc. So we had a major problem in our business, myself and my business partner, Johan. So with us actually joining Action Coach in the beginning of the year, Peter has helped us exponentially to overcome this problem. So our biggest issue that we had is we were working inside of the business instead of working on the business. And where Peter assisted us is to get more clarity of why are we doing this. So sort of step back, have a holistical view of your business, looking at it from a zoomed out perspective and understand why we're doing this. Why are we sacrificing? Why are we working so hard? Why is it important for us to do this, what we do, with including all the sacrifices? And that why comes into conjunction with a bucket list. And I implore every single one of you to have a bucket list. There's something what you can work towards, something that gives you purpose in life. And by achieving a bucket list, I must admit, it is really, really satisfying to actually achieve your bucket list. Do a quick little exercise just to encompass where your focus should be. And your focus should be on the why and not the inner workings of your business, the day-to-day. It has to be on the bigger picture. So I want us to just look around the room. It's quite a big room. And really, I want us to look at everything. So just focus, just settle down after little snacks, just focus and look at everything that you see in the room that is blue. Okay, so we've got blue banners there. Really focus, really take it all in. What else is blue? Blue bottles. So it's everybody looking around for blue. Okay, really, we're looking at blue. There's not quite a blue marker there. Now just take it all in and really focus on the blue. Now I want everybody to close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. Now again, put yourself back into that room. Now look around, like what did we just look at? We saw the focus. We really took it all in. Get to your mind's eye now. So now, to think of everything that you saw that was white. Okay, not so easy now because we were focused on the blue. So that's where it comes into play again. Are you working in the business or on the business? Now open your eyes and look at how the white actually pops out. Did you guys notice the white chandelier? The chairs were white. The whole building's white. So that just shows you if you step away and really focus on what's important in business, it becomes so much more clear. And that is again where a bucket list comes into play. Now, a bucket list can be anything, and that creates such a sustainable why. So a bucket list could be, I want to take my family on holiday. That could be something to work towards. A bucket list, I want to go overseas. A bucket list could actually be climbing Mount Everest. A bucket list could be going to the Amazon. So that was my bucket list. So the bucket list was actually twofold. It was seeing a jaguar in real life. That was one of the bucket lists. Secondly, it was going to the Amazon. And I had this dream from a childhood, but I didn't know how I was going to achieve this. How was I going to take the time off work to actually go and do my bucket list? So, bucket list number 1, seeing a jaguar in real life. That was right in front of us, and that was one of the first jaguars that we saw. And I can't tell you guys what an experience it was to actually live and see this, something that you wanted to do for your entire life. Bucket list item number 2, being in the Amazon. Even just looking at this picture, it brings back, the emotion of actually being in that place. Something that you, like I said, that you've dreamed about for your entire life, and experiencing it and achieving it. And that's what I'm saying. It makes it all worth it once you live for the bigger picture. What is your why? So now, when I went to the Amazon, or this whole trip, has anybody been to Brazil? Let's start there. Nobody's been to Brazil. Okay. Brazil is a very interesting country, beautiful country. People are amazing, but nobody speaks English. Not even at the airports, they don't speak English. So it is quite challenging. And also the population, the capacity is also, it's very overpopulated. There's also, it's a lot of challenges the country is experiencing, but a beautiful country, beautiful nature. It was really, I implore you guys to actually go to Brazil. It is really an amazing country to go to. But so now when we decided to do this trip, I had to take 3 weeks off my business. Now, 3 weeks is a long time out of your business. I don't know if you just think about saying 3 weeks out of your business, it's quite daunting to think of that. But it wasn't just 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks I was in the jungle, so there was no signal, no communication. 3 weeks completely cut off from my business. And that takes a lot of anxiety. But again, that's where Peter assisted us from Action Coach. He assisted us to actually have your foundations in place, put the correct procedures in place, empower more people, which allowed us to actually take off the 3 weeks. Because if your business can run without you being there, you've got a successful business. And when I left for Brazil, I actually left with confidence, not anxiety, because of the systems that was in place. So I want you guys to also relook at it, and for 2025, really think, can I actually step away from the business? Is it possible? And if you can't step away from the business, put things in place to be able to step away, because then you'll have a successful business. Okay. So yes, so Brazil, like I said, it was amazing, but it wasn't an easy trip. It was a tough trip. I said to my business partner when I returned, I said, yes, I need a holiday after those 3 weeks. Because we had 8 flights in total. That's including international and domestic. We rented 2 different cars. They drive on a different side of the road as we do. And like I say, it's a population overflow. So we landed in the city called Sao Paulo. So Sao Paulo is massive. It is really, even just flying in there, it's like, wow, it's a crazy experience. Just to give you an indication, so Sao Paulo is the largest city in the Southern Hemisphere. They've got a capacity of 12 million people. To give you a contrast, New York has got 8 million people. So it is insane. It's like a real culture shock when you actually fly in there. So it was a really tough trip. We worked really hard. It was no sleep, a lot of hiking. Like it was very tough. And the problem is with the Amazon, literally, or Brazil, everything's trying to kill you. The small stuff though, but maybe even the big stuff as well. So the trip was twofold. So we went to go find jaguars first of all, and we went to a place called the Pantanal. It's one of the biggest, largest wetlands in the world. So they actually call it Jaguar City, well, country. And that was the first part of our trip. So then we went to the Pantanal, and then this is what we experienced. So just to give you guys just a difference, because we love the African bush, and that's why it was so important for us as well to go to Brazil and experience the different type of animals. So a leopard, a big male leopard, you're looking at about 95 kilograms. This guy that was estimated 130 kilograms. So I mean, you can't even open his eyes. Look there, it's so big, and it was just such an it's difficult. Even the photos doesn't do it justice. It's difficult to even express what an emotion it brings up for me to even see this. Yeah, I just have to look at the camera quickly and thank my beautiful wife for the amazing photos that we can use, and very gracious of you. Thank you. Yeah, so that's another thing I just want to discuss as well. So for my wife, it was also a bucket list to go to the Amazon. So once you create your bucket list, try and involve it with people that you love, because this gives you so much more. It gives more purpose to it as well. So we experience it together. So for me and for my wife, we could experience this, and it was so gratifying. So we went for one Jaguar. That was the goal, to get one Jaguar. And eventually over this trip, we saw 16 individuals. So we were very lucky, very, very lucky. Yeah, so this is like a little baby cub that we also saw, a young one. And it is also just so fascinating seeing the difference between a leopard and a jaguar. Like a leopard would be very skittish when you see it, you spot it, it's gone. Where the jaguars didn't even care. They were just doing their own thing, hunting, not even paying attention to us in the vehicles and in the boats. That was not at us though. Yeah, so it is just, yeah, there's such an exciting and inspirational part of achieving your bucket list. As you can see, we were very lucky, very, very lucky. And Brazil itself, it's a different world out there. Like the animals are such a strange type of animals. It actually feels like you're Narnia, the type of animals that you see there. You can't even fathom, like, how are these things even surviving? Yeah, so you can see my wife got some really good shots. If anybody wants some prints, just let me know after the. Okay, and like I say, it was initially about the jaguars, but then being there and experiencing the different wildlife. That's a caiman. They're a lot smaller than our crocodiles, and also they're not so violent like the crocodiles. But these are the type of shots that's just been phenomenal. This is one of my wife's favorite animals. This is a giant river otter, and these guys were very comical to watch. Super busy, and yeah, it was really nice to see. You can see another one, the river otter. Very cute. Cayman. And this is what I was telling you guys. Like, how strange is this animal? So this is a giant anteater. It really looks like an animal out of Narnia. Like a small little mouth in front. And when you're sitting there and you see this animal come out, and you're like looking with binoculars, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? How is this even possible? So it wasn't just about the jaguar, but it was about the whole collective experience of Brazil. This is a tapir. A tapir. Yeah. So I don't know what this thing is. Yeah, it looks like a hippo, pig. I don't know. Take elephant. Take your pick. Take your pick. Yeah, and there was a lizard that we saw, and yeah. So it was an amazing experience, and like I say, just for us to achieve that, to get that first bucket list, it's something that I'll never forget in my entire life. And that's why, again, I want to put the emphasis on, as business owner, create the why, because this is the thing that you're taking with you forever. So that was the first part of the trip. So the next part was going actually to the Amazon. And like I said, say again? Yes, yes. So the second part was the Amazon. And like I said, it was 3 weeks. So we're halfway through. Now we're already very tired. Now we've got to go to the Amazon. But the excitement was real. So on the way to the Amazon, we got to, they call it the gateway to the Amazon. So we stayed over the night in a city called Manaus. And we had one night there. And what we decided to do is, you know what, we only live once. Let's actually go out and experience the city life instead of staying in the hotel. So we went out, and it was the best decision we made, because we actually got a sense of South America, the whole Latin experience. We went to this big square. There were people, small little pockets of people just playing music, dancing, singing. Okay, I must be honest, we had quite a bit of caparinas, which was probably a big problem, but it was something that you'll remember. And that's why, again, I want you guys just to live your lives as well. Like, take these moments in where you are, experience life, because life is so fleeting. It'll just disappear, and then you look back of what I've done. So then we got to the Amazon. Yeah, and this for me is actually very emotional because it is something I've dreamt about when I was small. I always wanted to see one of the 7 wonders of the world. I wanted to experience the Amazon. So we got into the Amazon, and again, I can't explain it. You see all these birds, the rivers, you get into these massive forests, and then this is the first time we're actually walking into the Amazon now. And this, so like I said, my wife is a professional photographer. So she actually captured this moment. So I was in the Amazon, and I actually decided, it was so overwhelming. I had to sit down, and then I said to myself, you know what? I'm in the Amazon now. I must stop and take it all in. So at that present moment, I was actually, like I said, it's like almost emotional thinking about it. Sitting there, and it's like, wow, I've achieved this. And just hearing the jungle's alive, the noises. It's again, I can't relay but that photo does it pretty good. So yeah, my wife was very sneaky there. She caught it. And this forever would, if I look at this picture, I know I will feel that feeling that I felt there. Very special. Okay. Then so there's the next picture. Like I said, my wife also had a bucket list. So her bucket list was the Amazon, which we got. And her second bucket list was this guy. It's a pink dolphin, a freshwater Amazon pink dolphin. When she saw this thing, it was just chaos. And that's why I say it is so like joyful to experience it with someone that you love. To have these bucket lists. Because again, guys, it's not just about business, it's not about money, it's about the experiences that you create. It's about the life that you live. Okay. And then this is iconic, a sloth, iconic Amazon. But now I must also tell you guys, so the Amazon is very hot. It is extremely hot. Just like over 40 degrees. But the problem is humidity, as well as you have to wear long sleeves and long pants. So for insects, because they're trying to kill you, I promise you, you can hear them everywhere. They're really trying to kill you. So you walk in and you're in that jungle, and then it's just the heat. And we hiked a lot through the jungle. But then you experience this type of sighting. So yeah, it's very strange. I mean, that haircut, I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, but it's an amazing experience. Yeah, no, we've got a lot of videos. Yeah, a lot of videos. Okay. Has anybody ever seen a thing like this before? So we were in a certain part of the Amazon called the Uakari. That's the section. Now this monkey is called the Uakari monkey. But I mean, he's wearing a fur coat and he's bald with a red face. It is insane. And we were also very lucky to see them, but I mean, how do you even explain this? So, no, yeah, you got sunburned. Yeah. So it was really, it was a phenomenal experience, like just seeing these crazy type of animals. Yeah, see, I can't even tell you guys. Like, we had so many different ones. It was just insane. Lots of monkeys. The monkeys were actually quite cool to experience, and every animal's got their part in the forest. Yeah, so it was nice to see the monkeys as well. So this one is a different type of caiman. This is a black caiman, and this one is quite scary. That is like in conjunction with a crocodile. Yeah, so you don't want to fall into that water. Like I say, everything's trying to kill you. Okay, so this is it's called a king vulture. So our guide, one of the guides at the actual Amazon, he's been living there his whole life, so for about 30 years. So he's only seen this vulture. This is the 5th time he's seen this vulture, and we saw this one. So this one's actually super special. Yeah, and again, it's the colors, and that's one thing with Brazil, like the bird life and the colors is just, it's out of this world. Like I'm trying to relay it to you guys, but it's very difficult. So here's some of the birds. Now, don't ask me the names, but you can actually see the colors of the birds. Yeah, beautiful colors. A toucan, I'm sure people are familiar with toucans. There was a hummingbird, and that thing's like tiny. Yeah, and that's the iconic toucan shot, also in the Amazon. Beautiful, eh? Okay, so again, if you look at this now, there's thousands and thousands of birds. The actual noises of the Amazon, it's again, like you can't explain it. It's bugs, birds, water, caiman. Um, yeah, it is absolutely insane. Any questions on the Amazon or yes? So I hope I've motivated you guys to make a trip to Brazil. It's tough, but it is worth it though. It is definitely worth it.
Did you encounter any native people while you were there?
Yes, we did. Not like super native into the forest, but in the Amazon. So the lodge we stayed at, they were doing a lot of development, so it was community based. So all the people that's actually working at the lodge is local people. So it was also nice to learn from their culture. So they take you through the forest and explain this type of tree with a translator because they don't speak English. Nobody speaks English there. But yeah, it was amazing actually meeting the local people there. And a fun fact about this as well. So we went it's now becoming summer, so they're starting to get all their floods. So if you look at this tree line, the tree line up here, so the water actually rises up all the way to the trees there. So the local people living in this area, they actually live on top of the water. So their houses, once the water rises, their houses rises. So halfway through the year, there's no place to walk. You actually have to take canoes and go through the forest on canoes, which was very interesting to actually see. Yeah.
And the funny you should mention it because I was going to ask my next one. I know there's people that live in the trees.
Yes.
You saw.
No, we didn't see we didn't see that. Yeah. Any other questions on the Amazon?
Fritz, a question from my side. So achieving this bucket list, what does it do to you? What does it give you?
Well, I can unequivocally say it has changed my life to achieve the bucket list. I know it's a cliche, but it has really changed my life. And what it has done, it has actually motivated me to do more bucket lists. So, and that's why I say to you guys, there has to be a why. There has to be a purpose in running a business. So, yes, it is an amazing accomplishment. Well, that's actually one of the exercises I wanted to do. I want everybody to, so I think let's just jump into it. Then everybody take your time, get your piece of pen and paper, and let's do 3 bucket lists. Okay, 3 bucket lists. And remember, 2025, at the end of the year, we're going to review this and see who achieved their bucket list. So I want to give you guys an indication of what my bucket lists are. So the 3 of them are, I want to climb Kilimanjaro. Okay, that is quite another tough one. I want to see the Great Migration in the Masai Mara. And then my third one is to see the Northern Lights. Okay. And it can be big bucket list items. It can be small bucket list items, but let's just do 3 bucket list items. We'll give you minutes. Three bucket list items. Yes. That's a nice one. Mm. There's a lot of options. And again, once you achieve achieve the rest as well. Because I believe I can achieve one of these that I've just stated to you guys. We'll see. I'll do another talk. For mine, is Kilimanjaro is to see the Great Migration from Masai Mara and the Northern Lights. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. Which we are going to correct in 2025. Peter, can we maybe give a bucket list? Everybody gives a bucket list items. Yeah, I think it is a nice exercise. You can just use one item at least. Yeah. And we might do that for next year with a family to reach. Yeah. You might bring your family, and it's achievable. It's 100% achievable. That's achievable. Yeah, amazing. That's a good one. Yeah.
For me, it's London. I want to go attend that business.
You want to go action physics in London, UK? I think we can find a lot for another one. But let's go. Yeah.
We actually have the same sort of thinking.
there's a place in the Red Sea where you can dive. It's about between 40 and 45 and 50 meters deep. The last time the group went, we were not qualified well enough. And also it's illegal to dive within 50 meters in Egypt. So this specific place has got a canyon. And when you go into the canyon, you can actually touch the African continent and the Asian continent. And that's something that I would like to do because I think very few people really get the chance of doing something like that.
You really thought about
Well
that.
done,
grandson again.
Yeah, those are some really good messages, guys. And I think it's definitely thinking outside the box like that. But I promise you, once you achieve one of these, it's a game changer. And it will motivate you to push harder, to work for it and achieve it. And that's why I implore you guys to put the why into your business. Not just the how, but the why. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
So we've got the opportunity to stretch your legs quickly. Christel, Kershaw from business. Christel will join us down now, and you want to and then about 5 minutes to get going.
All right, thank you. I'm going to break. Is it just Jenny or? Okay. Hello. Hello. No problem. Testing. I just want to test the mics. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing the mics. 1, 2, 3. No, this one's not working.
Please, I don't like, I'm not a psychopath, and you will never find me on Christel, very seldom. So now I feel anxious, more anxious. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Christel Kershaw. I'm an area manager at Business Partners. Thank you for inviting me for that to come and talk finance. I've been just a bit of a background about myself. I've been with the company for 16 years. So I've been dealing with SME finance for a substantial number of years. So I think I have a relevant experience to talk about business partners and finance and how you as entrepreneurs, I want to say perceive finance perhaps or when you approach financiers. So for me, it's just about perhaps, as I said, just to introduce business partners to you guys, just as a brief background on who we are, and then basically looking at the challenges that we face as a SME in our current environment, and then just some funding options to consider then when you're at that point when you want to expand or approach a financier for funding. And then some concluding remarks, and if you want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so. So just about business partners, I mean, we're a financier that's been in business since 1981. We were the old SPDC. I think we're one of the leading financiers to small and medium enterprise businesses. We empower entrepreneurs and help you to grow your own wealth so that you can grow the economy and create jobs and make South Africa a better place for all of us. I think our core values is entrepreneurial spirit, economic merit, integrity, and service excellence. So we are a public unlisted company. Um, we have an asset base of more than 5.2 billion rand, and we have shareholders as diverse, basically main big corporate companies. You know, the Remgro Group is the majority shareholder within business partners, and they originally started business partners in the early 80s with government. Today, they're still one of our majority shareholders, of about 42% is their current shareholding within business partners. So we have a national office network within South Africa, about 18, 19 offices currently within South Africa. So basically, we're a company that's invested in more than 72,000 transactions, invested more than 23 billion rand since inception of 1981. I think we are a reputable company with a good track record in the market. I mean, as I said, with experience of more than 43 years of funding small and medium enterprise businesses, I think, we are a trustworthy company. But just the challenges currently that SMEs faces, and I think that is all of us can, basically you will agree with me, what is your challenges, sorry, I'm now here back and forth, is basically the growth, low growth because of the consumers being under pressure. We all know people don't have money to spend. The high interest rates, people also, as I said, we don't have a lot of free cash flow in our pockets, perhaps also scared for entrepreneurs to borrow money because of the cost of funding, high inflation levels, and crime and corruption that I think is actually impacting every citizen and not just the SMEs in our country. We also look at the access to finance. It's quite difficult for SMEs to access finance based on the regulatory compliance. Let me just skip that one. Inadequate or incomplete business skills and load shedding or the cost of the cost for doing business in South Africa. So yes, currently we don't have load shedding, but I think if you look at the cost and the escalation that is proposed over the next 3 years, it's definitely going to have, apart from load shedding, the cost of electricity in our country is definitely going to have a further impact on our SMEs. So if, as you know, you as a small business owner are perceived as a high-risk industry, and there's various reasons why financiers perceived you as a high-risk business. It's because of most of the time entrepreneurs don't have a very strong balance sheet. They've invested probably all their money within their business. There's not a lot of equity in that business, perhaps. They have limited financial resources or reserves left in the business because they've reinvested or perhaps have spent the money on things that's not essential. The lack of quality of information, and I think that is perhaps one of the biggest issues that we as a financier deal with, is the quality of information that we are provided with to make financial decisions on. You're susceptible to microeconomic shocks. So the impact of the economy, you feel it first, and the limited availability to collateral that is offered or available. So what is the funding solutions then for you as an SME? I think we all know about basically I want to say the three main players in the market, apart from family and friends, that you go to borrow or get funding from, is normally your commercial funders. Those are normally your normal banks, normal banking or financial institutions. or your non-banking financial investors, and that is typically a business partner. Now, people that don't have banking licenses, meaning you can't take deposits, but we also the alternative funders out there in the market. You have your philanthropic funders, or then your government developmental financial. So all these funders have different pros and cons when you approach them for your funding. So typically your commercial banks, as we know, that risk averse. The requirements for funding is very high. They look at a lot of collateral to assist you with funding. And then the repayment terms is sometimes very onerous to SME. Then you have perhaps, as I said, your non traditional financiers or your non-bankable financiers, like your business partners that is willing to take on risk, but therefore the cost of their funding is different than a normal banking transaction. Or you go to your developmental or your development banks or your bank of finance, now your government institutions. And the problem with those institutions is the time it takes for them to make a decision. So the efficiencies is normally a problem, as well as the effectiveness of them to make a decision. And then ultimately recovering those money when they have invested that funds into businesses. So I think currently we've seen there's almost want to say shift in the funding when it comes to international trends and globally is where people want to work together to see that we can make funding available to SMEs more on a more affordable basis. So yes, apart from the normal commercial approach, making money, when we invest the money, we also look at the impact that the funding that is placed in the market, by helping to assisting the entrepreneur or helping with creating jobs, um, and work in collaboration with the different financial institutions so that it can add value to the client and it becomes more, the funding that we place in the market becomes more affordable for you as the SME. Trying to help you to make it easier to access finance, the cost of funding, reducing the cost of funding by doing the blended type of funding models that is available in the market. I think it is important to understand when if you approach a financier, the different approaches in the market to funding. But typically, your risk financiers will look at I want to say, if you submit a financial application, there's three risks that is being assessed. Either the business risk. Business risk is the industry that you are in. Where's your business in? Your business risk is the industry that you're in. Your financial risk, meaning the unsecured money that needs to be put into the transaction. And the entrepreneurial risk. Do you as the entrepreneur have the right integrity? Do you have the right knowledge, skills to take this business forward? And those are the things that a financier looks at when they consider your application for funding. But you need to look at when you're ready to apply for finance, that you make sure that you apply with the right funder. Because depending on the stage where your business is will determine which funding application or which funder you need to approach for your funding. If you are a secured business, if you've been profitable for many years, you have a lot of reserves, you have enough collateral, that is typically a bank transaction. You go to a bank and they give you a loan, anything into the prime interest rate, depending also on the risk profile. If you don't have sufficient collateral, but you still have a good business model, then you can consider an alternative funder or a risk financier that is still willing to take on risk by funding you, but that risk must be shared between you and the funder. The funder cannot take all the risk. If you don't have skin in the game, how can you expect a financier to take all the risk? So it's about sharing the risk. And by sharing the risk, it's also meaning that the cost of funding will come down. So that's why banks typically require tangible assets because they're not in the risk of taking, as I said, placing unsecured money into the market. Where a risk financier again is willing to take risk, but for that cost or for that risk that they are taking, as I said, either financial risk, meaning that would be unsecured money that they need to put into the transaction, the business risk, the industry that you are in. If they are willing to take on that risk, their cost of funding is normally different from a bank transaction. Then you need to go and consider this opportunity cost Is it making sense for you to take up the funding, even though it's higher than a normal bank transaction, but it will put you in a position to take your business to a next level? Where if you say, no, but listen, this cost of funding is too high for me, I can't take it up, then, then you need to go back to the drawing board and say, but what is the opportunity I'm losing out by not taking or considering this finance? You cannot go and apply for funding and only get half the amount of funding that you are requiring. Because what are you going to do with half the money? You won't be able to execute your plan, to implement, to take the business to the next level if you don't have sufficient funding. And that is why there's a very fine line between cost of funding and your financier, or the I want to say the financial institution that you partner with to take your business to the next level. We at Business Partners always say, it must make business sense for you to take up the funding. If the cost of funding is too high, it's not making sense for the financier to place that money, because the burden on your monthly cash flow is going to be so high that you're just basically working for your financier. Then it doesn't make sense. But when the cost of funding, although it's high, it still makes sense for you to take it up, to take your business to the next level. It's a win-win situation. There's no reason for financier to put you, it wouldn't make business sense to place money in a business where the cost of funding is so high that you will not be able to take your business to the next level. Now, there's a fine line when it comes to funding. I think when you apply again, as I state here, is make sure that the business plan that you submit to the financial institution, that you address your exact need. What is your need for funding? How are you going to apply it in your business? What is the problem, or I want to say the problem or the reason you're applying for this funding? Have you done your research? If you're going to take it to the next level, what research has you done on the business to make sure to motivate that this is the need, and taking that you will be able to generate that revenue from this funding that is required if you are, taking, as I said, the investment that is required in your business to take it to that next level. Showing the assumption that you've made, as I said, doing that research to show that whatever assumptions that you are putting towards a financier is achievable. The investors look then, as I said, as you're an entrepreneur, I think that is the most important thing in any transaction. Do you have the relevant skill in knowledge? What is your track record? What is your integrity? What is your credit worthiness? If you've been, so those are all the things that a financier will look at. Tax compliance, are your taxes up to date? If you're not paying the receiver, what is the chance that you will pay your financier? Yes, unfortunately all of us don't want to avoid paying tax, but there's a difference avoiding and evading tax. Risk within your businesses and how you mitigate those risks. What is the higher the risk, as I said, the higher the return, meaning the cost of funding will also be higher. What else? Facts on your financial viability. Financial information is very important, because any financier base their information or their decisions on your financial information that you provide to them. So that quality of information is crucial. We've seen how many times that we've received applications that we cannot take it forward because the integrity of the financial information, and I'm talking about historical information and not even assumptions going forward, that the integrity of that information is questionable. And then it becomes a back and forth trying to help entrepreneurs, but because of the information is so questionable, or everything that we ask, we cannot verify it with outside information. A simple example, if you have two sets of financial statements, financials for the receiver and financials for the bank, we unfortunately only work on what you declare to the receiver, because that's what we can verify. If you're a risk financier, you must try and make sure whatever is presented is a true reflection. So whatever happens going forward or in the past is a true reflection that this business will be able to afford the loan. So that is why they do basic due diligence on your business. We look at those VAT returns that are submitted to the receiver. If there's a big discrepancy, now which set of financials or what information is now actually a true reflection? We've seen how many times, the other day we had an application where a guy his financial statements, his bank statements, and his VAT returns, none of that is corresponding. And he says, but I'm trying to trick him in, I'm asking him difficult questions. That is standard information. I mean, what is now true reflection? You're not backing the information. Okay, I can understand that. But then what have you declared to the receiver? That's way below what you're telling me you actually do. So all I'm trying to say is present a true reflection of your business. If you make losses in that business, what is the reason for those losses? Yes, typically a commercial bank wouldn't be able to finance you because of the losses that you made. But a risk financier might say, listen, we can see that you have put in the necessary measures. We understand the reason why you made this losses. So yes, we are willing to take the risk because we can see that you have turned this business around and we're willing to back you on turning this business around and taking it to the next level. So that is, as I said, the main thing is the integrity of the information that you provide to the financiers. And that is why going to a risk financier compared to a normal commercial bank or totally secure transaction, the approach towards the funding is different. The process is different. Because of the fact, as I said, taking risk, they need to make sure that they're backing the right people. And that is why, although we've seen it in many occasions, is nowadays there's no such thing as a quick answer when it comes to funding or application to funding. I want to say your decision making will be determined by the quality of information that you provide to any financier. But because of the volume, sometimes that is generated within your commercial banking space. Because I mean, if you think funding, we all think commercial banking space. But that is why the volumes that is generated in those businesses, there's a lot of tick boxes. And that is why I say it's very important for you to approach the right financier. Because when it comes to risk, those businesses or those companies don't do the volumes that the normal bank do. And that is why they will have a more personal approach towards your funding. They will probably assess that information personally, go through it, try to understand your business model to make an informed decision to try and help you to take the business to the next level. I think I have touched on most of this. I mean, what is the difference between surety and security? Yes, most of the financial institutions will require surety. Why? It's about commitment. If you don't believe in your own business, how must somebody else believe in your business? So it's about commitment, making sure that whatever funds are placed in that business, that you will put in the effort to the work. Security is sharing risk, reducing the cost of the funding because we are sharing risk. Again, if you don't have anything to lose, it's easy to take your handbag and walk out of the door. But if you have something to lose, you will put in the extra effort and make sure that, as I said, make sure that the business works and ultimately for yourself to take it to the next level. The gearing in the business, I think that's also very important. There's a fine line between, what is the right amount of debt to put into the business. We look at cash flow projection prices. If your cash means the gearing is too high, it means it doesn't make sense for you to take up that fund. I think one of the things that we've seen in especially COVID, and yes, we're 3 years down the line past COVID, but we as business partners, I had the privilege of placing the Rupert money that the Rupert Trust donated R1 billion to SMEs, that we basically assess all those businesses or all those the business. I think those are the businesses that didn't make it through the COVID phase. But when you have a healthy balance sheet, your cash flows are healthy, your cash flows can support the amount of debt that you have in your business. Those are the businesses that actually survive COVID. Insolvent businesses, technically insolvent businesses, you will unfortunately not be able to raise funding for that business because that's seen as reckless lending, putting money into a business that's insolvent. When you apply or submit your application, why is it declined? What is the reason that you aren't successful with your application? So again, lack of viability. They cannot determine that the business model that you are providing, that this is a viable business model. That the business will sustain this funding period of typically what is business finance going anything between 3 and 5 years when it comes to business finance. Property finance is over a 10-year period. And sometimes people think because of residential properties, we finance them over 20 years, potentially 50 years. Commercial properties are only financed over a 10-year period. Insolvent, as I said, affordability, looking at the past, yes, it's the past, but how can we motivate you moving forward? If they cannot prove that you've turned this business around, even though there was losses made in the past, they will not be able to assist you with your funding. Outside the funding parameters, so that's why again you need to make sure that whoever you apply your finance with is within their funding parameters. I think typically, again, I can only speak about the business partners model is if you have on lending, if it's agricultural, primary agricultural sector, we will not be able to help you. If you a non-profit organization, that's also without our scope. If you want to buy an investment property where it's residential flats, residential letting, it's outside the parameter. So it's important to understand again your financier that you approach, that whatever you're looking for, that it falls within the parameter of their finance. The gearing of the business, we talk about that. Loan amount that you require versus the personal balance. It always needs to be in sync. Unfortunately, if you have, and again, I want to say it was part of the opening comments I made, is your the lack of security or your personal balance sheet. If you have a weak balance sheet, so typically bring it in perspective. Say your personal net worth is about R1 million, but now you got R10 million. The question is, how will you be able to manage that R10 million if you don't have the ability to manage, or you only have R1 million on net asset value within your personal capacity? So it's very important, as I said, those two needs to be fairly much in line. I'm not saying if you have R1 million, you can't apply for R2 million. I'm just saying R1 million versus R10 million, the gap is quite big, and it will be very difficult to convince a financier to take that risk on you putting in that amount of funding. Poor credit record, again, it's about the behavior. Yes, we have done transactions where you have perhaps made a mistake or some unforeseen circumstances. You had you've been listed or you have a judgment against your name. If we can pick up that it's not a trend, it's an abnormal, so if it's a once-off incident that happened, it could potentially help you. But again, that gives you guidance on the type of entrepreneur that you finance. That is why they will always look at your track record or your credit worthiness as a individual. Your business risk is too high. That comes that you are applying some certain industries or perceived higher risk industries. And based on that industries, again, they will look at the amount of gearing or funding that you put into that transaction, that it wouldn't make sense. Typically, I want to say tourism industry is perceived as a higher risk industry. And that is why when you approach a financier, the gearing typically wouldn't be more than 50% because of the industry. The same as if you're in a restaurant industry business. It's about that risk is a higher perceived business risk. And that is why the industry, your debt in that business will probably you won't be able to raise more than 50% debt in those type of businesses being in the industry. Poor systems in control. I mean, if you run your business, I don't know, do people still do it at the back? That's always the old saying. Running it at the back of your cigarette box. I don't know if people do it that. I don't know. Luckily, I haven't seen any people coming to me with fun. But if you don't have the relevant systems in place, I mean, how do you make informed decisions if your systems, your financial systems or your management system is not in place? Because it's about making informed decisions, and it's very difficult to make those decisions if you don't have the right quality of information. Entrepreneur not convincing, that not now skin in the game, meaning when you're not sharing the risk, the financier is taking all the risk. You, as I said, you have this great plan, and I'm not saying it's not a great plan, but unfortunately we have to share the risk, and by not doing so, only one person is taking the risk. The lack of experience, and that is why, again, coming back to the entrepreneur, the industry that you're in, do you have the right skill and knowledge in the industry that you are raising the funding of running a business? The terms of funding versus the business need and the cost versus the opportunity ratio. Again, the cost of funding is crucial, but the gearing ratios and the burden on the cash flows if the gearing is not right or the cost of funding is too high. Just in principle, what is the requirements, and apart from all the things that I talk about on what the financier looks for at when you approach him, or what you need to consider when you submit your business plan and the information apart from the quality, I think it's standard financial information that you will have to submit to any financier. Because again, we make decisions on financial information. Although it's historic, it tells us a bit about a track record of the business. So if you have been in business for more than 3 years, it's typically financial statements for the last 3 years. They look at management accounts, not older than 3 months. Again, how can you make decisions if I have to work on 2-year-old financials? It's irrelevant. I cannot make a decision on that, and neither can the investor. Again, coming back to how do you run your business if your financials are so outdated. They look at a 12-month cash flow projection. Yes, only 12 months and not 5 years. 12 months is already a stretch, I know, but you know your business better than the financier. You know, again, what are you applying for? So whatever funding I'm going to put, what are you going to do with that? What is the impact on your revenues going to be when you put in this additional funding that you require? The business plan, I have touched on that in the previous slide. That is about the information that you provide them with. And I don't think a business plan is always relevant, especially if you have been in business for a couple of years. I think it's relevant for that point in time because they can make a decision on the financial information and almost a summary that you provide to them. But again, a business plan is you work in your business or you know your business. And I always say, don't not work in your business on your business like that. So, so you will know what's happening. So you're the right person to tell me, listen, these are my customers. These are the people, these are the top 5 customers that I deal with. They generate so much of my revenue is generated from these customers. If your customer concentration is too high, if you only have one client, that increases your business risk. Because if that client decides not to pay you or go to the next supplier, then what's happening to your business? So that is always a high risk as well when you only have one customer. Suppliers, what is the terms of your suppliers? I mean, how many suppliers do you have? If this again is almost coming back to the same as a customer. If your one supplier can't supply you, what happens to your business? Will you be able to manufacture or take? What is the contingency if something happens to you, if you only have one supplier or one customer? They look at application forms, that is standard, and then certified copies of the shareholders. They look at your CVs, and the CVs again is just to tell us as the financiers what is the experience that these people have. Do they really again back for the strength of the application and you as the jockey? I think just to touch on when you're in the process or your business has grown to a point and now you're in a position that you actually want to acquire your property that you've been operating from for a number of years for various reasons. You want to acquire it now. You don't want to pay a third party rent. You've grown sufficiently that you can afford the rent. But always they will require a signed offer to purchase. And a signed offer to purchase tells you it's a willing buyer, willing seller. You've agreed on the price of the property. Otherwise, everybody's running around and there's no commitment that the transaction is actually on the table. They will require valuation, and that is twofold. One, to protect yourself to make sure that you're buying the property at the right price, as well as a financier to make sure that we're not over-investing in a transaction or overpaying if the value is not there. They look at approved building plans and zoning. I think zoning is always important, so it makes sure that whatever you operate from that property, that you are in line with regulations. Not unfortunately, we obey by the rules of the country or the not the rules, the legislation is better. So we need to be compliant, and that we will never. No, I don't want to say never. Never is a long time, but we will not. You need to have the right zoning for whatever you do on that property. I don't know. As I said, I feel I've ran through this now all over the show, but you are welcome to ask me questions. I try to keep it brief, try to highlight, I think, the importance of what a financier look like. I think the main thing is to make sure whatever stage your business are at, that you apply with the right funder. You need to consider the cost of funding. Not everybody anymore. But even though, if the cost of funding is higher than a normal bank transaction, does it make business sense? I think that is the crucial part of the decision making. And ultimately, what you will have to decide is if it makes sense for your business to incur this debt, to take it to the next level, and the opportunity that the funding that you're applying with for will have what impact that will have on your business. Thank you. Oh, yeah. My colleague, myself and Suhail is here, so we will be around for a bit. Uh, we can join you for lunch. Suhail is giving me a little track. As I said, it's about business partners, perhaps it's about perhaps some additional information. As I said, it wasn't about business partners, it's about access and crowdfunding available to us. Sorry, there was a question.
So I'm going to ask a hypothetical question because I know it'll be very difficult to answer it. But typically, what rates you guys does business partner apply for, in normal businesses there? Because I know you guys from a different world of property a lot. So in this instance here, from a normal business, which I wasn't actually aware that you guys also do, but what would be the normal prime plus were we looking at? I know that it's deal dependent, but what are we looking at roughly?
Probably not. So all I'm trying to say is a risk return model. Financial risk, business risk.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for the
So we'll take 5 minutes and Lusito will set up for us.
Okay. I think Peter's calling everyone now. Yeah. This the new one is mine. Yeah. The new one. Mm. It's amazing how what's that? Yes, yes. Is my voice. Oh, yes. No, it was fine. I left home at around there. So my class is very easy. Over there. So, so fog. Otherwise, it was and they asked me to not start the So even I've realized now, talk and hearing. I said you were so much. They were but how can I in the future incorporate that in finance? Because finance is yeah. Yeah. So it's like
All right, guys. So I'm just going to hand over here to Lusito. So, Lusito, once again, we know talking about money. So,
Solving. All right, thank you, Peter. I just want to do a voice test. If you can hear me at the back, I tend to speak a bit soft. So if you don't hear me, just wave or something, right? Thank you. So I'm going to talk about cash flow, the power of 1% improvement, and the 7 levers or areas that you need to focus on when you are speaking to your accountant. So there's very 7 important areas in cash flow management for your business. Just to reintroduce myself, so Lusito Mthethwa, I have been working in the accounting industry for 17 years next year, and 10 years in discursive consulting, helping small businesses. And I own my own accounting firm with a team, I think we are 8 now, at discursive consulting. So what I'm going to talk to you about, it's the most important part when it comes to your cash flow, as well as your cash flow position. What are the 7 levers that you need to focus on? And the power of 1%. Just aiming for 1% improvement. I know that you've got your annual targets, which are much more than 1%. But I want to demonstrate to you the effect of just improving your cash flow by 1%. And then we're also going to talk about how you can use tax planning to actually improve your cash flow. So the most important part is the policy. So a lot of people, you find that a lot of us business owners, by the time that we actually take money into the business and money out of the business, it's usually a bit late to manage the cash flow. So you need to look at what happens before money actually leaves your bank account. And you need to look at what happens before you actually invoice your client. So these are the policies in place. I think we've had the previous speakers talking about the policies that you need to put in place in your company. So something as simple as invoicing. So most of the things that I'll be talking about here, you already know. So I'm basically reminding you. So invoicing, what are your invoice processes? Do you write on your invoices or do you inform your customers that you need 50% deposit upfront or you need full payment upfront? A lot of people don't pay you because they just don't know. So you can implement policies and strategies where even your invoice goes out to tell the client when must they pay you and what are the consequences of paying you late. Also, when it comes to suppliers, you need to understand the terms that you have with your suppliers. We'll talk more about this because there's paying suppliers too early, there's paying suppliers too late, there's paying suppliers on time. All of those terms you need to understand and to a point that you know how they affect your cash flow. And the other aspect that you need to remember when it comes to cash flow, we get affected by tax before we actually spend the money. So a lot of us business owners want to deal with tax after we've spent the money and then we want to try and find ways of minimizing tax. Usually by that time, it's already late. I'll talk more about that. So these are the most important parts. Your policies, what policies do you have in place? Are they written down? Does your finance department understand them? Does the sales and marketing team understand them? Do you speak by them? And then, yeah, and then knowing where you are today. So we need to understand, I think all of you know how much you've got in the bank account, right? And that's one of the areas that makes us business owners think that we are running our finance department properly because we're running our finance department through our bank account. If there's no money in the bank account, then it's bad. We're not going to sleep for 4 days. However, because if you actually did financial statements, we once had a consultation with a client who came to me and he said, look, I can't pay you, there's no money, my suppliers are on my back. And I said, look at your debtors balance. You've got about 3 million being owned by a state-owned company. You are rich. You should be sleeping well. However, you just need to correct your finance policy, your collection policy. A lot of government departments, especially when it comes to small businesses, they have an internal policy of paying small businesses within 30 days. But because you might not know that as a business owner, you let them pay you after 90 days. You don't have someone who is in the company who's saying, look, I can see the act is saying you need to pay me within 30 days, and calling them every week. Unfortunately, with most of the departments, you have to call them every single week until payday. So these are one of the most important things to avoid running your finance department or avoid running your business according to your bank balance, because you're either going to be too excited or you're either going to be very, very depressed. So when it comes to the, the, the management of cash flow, there are 4 questions that you need to answer as a business owner without any hesitation. You can look it up because, I believe that a lot of you run successful big companies, so you might not know all the numbers to your financial statement, but you should have reference to these 4 questions. And I think Peter and Bert can attest to that some business owners may not know who owes them. You should know who owes you, how much they owe you, and when do they need to pay you. It should be available to you on a moment's notice. And the second one is, who do I owe? And when must I pay them? And those are your creditors. So the first one are your debtors, basically who owes you, and when must you pay, and when must they pay you? And also then, how much do I have in the bank account, which we all know at the moment's notice. Yeah, yes. And the other important, the fourth question is, how much can the bank or any funder or financier, as we heard the previous speaker, would they be able to give you should you need it? As much as you can have enough cash in the bank, it's always good to know your credit facility in case something happens. I almost said the other way. So those are the 4 questions that you should be able to answer at a moment's notice. And we get these answers through our set of financial statements. We heard Harry also mentioning that at least by the 7th of every month, you should have the set of financial statements with you. And then the importance of accounting in cash flow accelerator. So like I've mentioned before, the financial statements help you to answer the questions that I've asked in the previous slide. But also accounting systems also will help you to answer those questions, because when you've got an accounting system, either it's manual or it's automated. A lot of companies use automated now. There's a lot of free automated accounting systems online that you can actually use immediately. You're going to be able to create quotations. You're going to be able to create invoices, and you are able to systemize these invoices if you are using the accounting system. So for example, we use an accounting system called Zero. Once you invoice the client, it's going to remind them every week. It's going to remind them every week. So that also takes away that stress of having to call because, we serve some of our friends and some of our families. And I don't know about you, but I don't like following up on payments. I ended up hiring someone to do that because it also kills the relationship between yourself and your client. So that system is going to help you to automatically be able to send invoices, it's able to remind them, able to send them statements without too much of you picking up the phone. And you pick up the phone and it's like really, really bad. And then accounting systems also help you to track payments that are due to your supplier. because if you pay suppliers late, you all know that you might be penalized. Suppliers like tax, supplier, non-voluntarily though. We know that if you pay your suppliers too soon as well, you tend to lose a lot of cash flow. I know a lot of business owners, including myself when I started, I didn't want to owe anyone. But that doesn't help you sometimes. If your suppliers giving you 60 days, you might want to stick to that so that you can build interest with the money that's in your bank account instead of just paying everyone too soon. And then also it will enable you to get access to funders, credit facilities, because I always say that banks pick numbers. If you can't show them the numbers, you can sit with the bank and tell them how amazing your business is, but if they don't see the numbers, they're not going to help you in any way. So you also know, most importantly, where to make changes with financial statements. And then the other important thing, I just want to ask around the table, how many of you actually face your accountant to discuss your financial statements? Like face up on your accountant every month to sit, or are you happy if it doesn't call you, okay, stressless? Do you actually, as a business owner, do you sit on your accountant and follow up? The 7th or the 10th, we need to have our meeting, or is it the other way around? He's calling you, scheduling meetings. He comes there, you're not there. How many are actually the one following up? Uh, mm. Oh, so so that's not the only job the accountant has. Yeah. And that's a mistake we make as accountants by focusing only on compliance. But there's a bigger picture or a bigger goal and a bigger reason why they are here. And it's to actually help you, especially before you spend your money. That is the most important time. I want to buy a house, pick up the phone. What should I do? How should I buy that house? You know, because compliance is just a small part of accounting. There's a bigger part which is the financial management, and the most biggest part is decision making. That's why management reports are very important by the 7th, by the 10th, worst case scenario by the 15th, because after that, after you can receive the management report, so you also have to read them, and your accountant is supposed to explain them to you, simplify them for you, because we're going to be talking assets, liabilities. It's supposed to be very, very simple for you. Because after a month, it's difficult to go and make changes on something that happened the previous month. So those dates are very, very important. However, oh sorry, every single month, you can explore other accountants. I don't want to sound bad, but you can explore other accounting packages where you can pay monthly. You pay a retainer package. For example, our clients pay a retainer fee based on the size of their company, and then they get everything. So that actually helps you as well, and helps us to be able to attend to your finances on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Yeah. So also the responsibility, and I'm gonna throw in the Companies Act here. The Companies Act places responsibility of your business finances on you, the business owner. When S hits the fan, it's you who's gonna take accountability. We are lucky now because SARS has upgraded their rules. They put both you and your accountant to jail. You both go. That's how it works now. However, it's you who needs to take responsibility of your book. If your accountant is not meeting with you, either you push them to do that or you fire them and get a new accountant, because you are the primary responsible person for your book. And if your accountant is following you up every single month, let's talk about the management report. That is not a good thing. Let's talk about your VAT report. You need to review your VAT report. That's another thing that your accountant, I tend to wonder if your accountant is not meeting with you every month, how do they submit your VAT return? Do you just tell them, oh, submit whatever you have? Because when an accountant is sitting outside of your company as a consultant, you are the one who is spending the money. So you might not know that that 200,000 rand bill had that or it didn't have that. Maybe you didn't give them an invoice. Maybe you transacting and haven't handed everything to them. So those are the conversations that you need to be having with your accountant. And then you're gonna the other areas where you need to be speaking with your accountant about. So gonna see, yeah, we are there. The 7 most critical areas of the conversation that you need to have with your accountant, which will arise from your financial statement. So the first one is price. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. Some people have priced right, some people are pricing too high, some people are pricing too low. So you need to understand how much are you charging, and are you pricing it right? Are you giving any discount? I don't know about you, but the lady that we met on one of the about a child giving too many discounts. When people ask for discounts and then you're like, no, it's fine, I'll give you 30%. However, you need to understand what 30% or 20% discount means to the rest of your income statement. How does it affect your profit? You see. So also pricing, I think this is where coaching comes into effect, because in order to price right, you have to value yourself, the psychological gain. You have to value yourself, you have to value the services. One of the things that I realized when I used to give discounts, I realized that I'm doing a disservice to my team, because Ryan is going to work 10 hours trying to get the financial statements out. And here I am, I've given the guy a 20% discount. You see now, Ryan has worked so hard. I'm undervaluing my team's capabilities and my team's skills. So there is a way of saying no in a nice way, saying no to discounts. So be very, very careful about giving discounts. And the other mistakes that I've made coming into the market and saying, I'm going to price low so that I can enter the market. Big mistake. Biggest mistake I have ever made in my life of business. Because when you enter the market with a low, the assumption that you are presenting and creating yourself to the market. So the market is sitting there and saying, oh, okay, to special consulting, price is 500 for that. And you do that for a year. And whereas your actual cost is 5,000. To get from 500 to 5,000, it's almost impossible. You will really have to justify why all of a sudden now your fees are moving from 5,000, 500 to 5,000. So pricing low for the sake of entering the market, you really, really have to, understand why you're doing that. Some industries might work, but most industries it does not work. And then volumes. So are you selling enough to cover for all your needs? This is where sales and marketing strategies comes in. So these are the problems or the challenges that you can pick up from your financial statements and then go and talk to your sales team or go and learn more about sales because you're going to see it. Are your volumes enough? Because now, if you are not selling enough, your price is right, you're not selling enough, your expenses are going to be too high. You're going to be making a loss. So when you sit with an accountant, he can tell you that, look, your sales are too low, your costs are too high. Something needs to change there. You then have to go back as the owner of the business because you know your business more than the accountant. And then the third lever is cost of goods or direct cost. Are you buying at the best prices from your suppliers? Are you also buying the best quality from your suppliers? And also study the relationship between the cost of goods and the revenue growth. Is your cost growing much faster than your revenue? So that's another area to look at when you are managing cash flow. So you find that your cost is too high, your revenue is too low. So something needs to happen. Either you need to increase your prices or you just simply need to sell more so that you can cover your costs. Or you need to negotiate lower prices from your suppliers. So those are the conversations that you start thinking about when you're reviewing these financial statements. And then overheads. So now these are your expenses. So overheads, are you spending wisely? You need to cut down. I think I heard one of the speakers talking about having to reduce your insurance. You want to pay less. I think it was very good. You want to pay less for your insurance. Or you need to now look at, are you spending too much on calls? What's happening there? Are people calling their friends during lunchtime? What's happening there? What do you need to do? What do you need to do to reduce your expenses? Expenses are usually the quickest area that you can manage your cash flow from because entertainment, petrol, maybe if you can have more meetings online or schedule your traveling time in one day so you can not go to too many different places, in different days. So you start having to think about that because now you see the numbers are speaking to you. And then also your relationship between your overhead and your revenue growth. When money is coming in, it's nice to spend. We want to do more things. We want to eat out more. We want to host more clients. Have coffee, lunch, and all that because the money is coming in. However, it should always be your expenses should always be lesser than what you are earning. And then another tip that I've just remembered today, when you're doing your cash flow budget, always budget your income excluding that. That is one of the things that I've recently learned. Always budget for your income, how you're gonna spend your money. If your income including that is 115 Rand. Work on the, and 15 Rand is the VAT that you need to pay to SARS. You might not pay the whole 15 Rand for supplier, but work on the 100 Rand. Why? Because before the money even comes in, it's very difficult, guys, to pay SARS. I don't know who likes to pay SARS. It's we all don't want to pay SARS, but we have to. You know, SARS is our uninvited business partner. You know, and the minute this hits our pocket, there is 15 Rand that must go to SARS. You know, client paid me this 100 Rand, well, we don't charge 100 Rand for anything. Client paid me this 100 Rand, 15 Rand belongs to SARS. So my planning and my budgeting must be on the 85 Rand. What that happens before the money even comes to the pocket, it helps you psychologically to let go, because it's very difficult to let go of that 15, that 15%. So, you know, you can have conversations with your banker on how to even, you know, automatically have 15% move on to another account. And the beautiful thing about VAT is that you might not pay, chances are you won't pay the whole 15 Rand because you've got suppliers. So then it also helps you save much more and build that, you know, that, what do they call it? That emergency fund. Yeah. And so moving on to number 5, 6, and 7, receivables. Very, very important. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, set your policies. Let your clients know exactly how you want to be paid when they're not paying. And you'll be amazed that the only person that was slowing down payment, it's yourself, because you didn't stick to your rules. You didn't stick to your own policies. Very, very important. Having policies is one thing. Sticking by them is another thing, because we get so afraid I might lose that client. If I stop servicing them, you know, they've been owing me for 6 months, you know, but you know, I'm a good guy. Let me just keep, you know, they're gonna get paid. Eventually they're gonna have money. Who's suffering? Is it them or you? You know, they know that I can call this person, they're still gonna help me with the accounting. Although I owe them for 6 months. Because we are good people, we wanna serve the nation. It is killing us, it is killing our businesses, but most of all, it is killing our team as well. Because who, and most of all, it's killing you. If a client is owing you for 6 months, who's been paying for that bill in your company? Yourself. You've been paying your employees. So your employees are working for free for that particular client. And then you are paying money for this client, or you are stealing from your other client to service this other client. So there's a lot of things that are happening just because we either don't have the policies in place and we are not following our own policy. And try not to pay your bank, or if you've got a bond, try not to pay them for 3 months or for your car. You'll see what happens, you know. As much as your banker is the friendliest person, but something bad is gonna happen. You see, why then don't we apply the same thing to our clients? And we tell ourselves that the small business, we're trying to build relationships, but it doesn't work that way. So I'm gonna move on to that. I'm very emotional about that because I've had to do a lot of work to implement policies and stick by them and stop giving discounts. Still doing that, still working on that, and stop being nice and keep on giving free services. So it's really, really important. I'm here, I'm leaving tomorrow. So the relationship as well between revenue growth and debt. So it's all nice to have, you know, 5 million in revenue this year, but no money in the account. And then you look at, like the example I gave, you look at the person's balance sheet. There is 3 million, 4 million being owed to them by their customers. Also, not very helpful. So it's always good to measure that every month. And then you start discussing, are we following up enough? You know, am I following up enough? If you're a sole owner of a business, do I need help? Do I need to hire someone who doesn't give a damn? And you know, to call them and not lose business though, but call them and follow up. So the relationship is very important. Inventory and fixed cost, stock on hand. Very, very important to be able to measure how long do you keep stock on hand, because that's costly as well. It's extremely costly and it's extremely risky, especially if it's stock that can get easily damaged, whether through rotting, fire, or any other risk that may be present. And also stock handling costs. Maybe you're renting a warehouse. Maybe now you even start buying bigger space so that you can keep a lot of costs. I've seen a couple of businesses online where when it comes to the own it or rent it, you know, we've got, I saw a business which manufactured shoes, where they would buy a fleet of trucks. They bought a fleet of trucks to deliver the shoes to various outlets. And it costed a lot because when there is low orders, that person has to maintain the truck. The person has to pay for the installment of those trucks. Whereas when the business is still growing, maybe you need to rent courier company, you know, instead of owning your own courier vehicles in the first place. Maybe you need to rent your property before you own it. So these questions are very, very important. And then lastly, negotiating better terms. We spoke about that with the suppliers. Are you paying on time? Are you paying too early? Are you paying too late? Too early, there is penalty. I mean, sorry, too late, there is penalty. Too early, you're losing on interest. On time is fine. However, also depending on your relationship with your suppliers and the terms of your supplier. So very, very important to understand our suppliers' terms. And then the power of 1% improvement. So I'll quickly show you a demonstration that we did with a company to change the name of how 1% was going to improve their business. So again, financial statement, management statement. Without those reports, you can't really have a conversation about improving anything. You can do this annually, quarterly, monthly. It works. It's going to change. I hope you can see at the back. So fine. Okay, so this is a company that we demonstrated how 1% improvement in these 7 areas can actually help their company. So the company had a operating profit of 9.6 million. Their net cash flow. So this is their remaining money in the bank account. They were sitting at 11,177,408. So when they increase their price, or if they increase their price by 1%, it goes up to 400. So the impact on the cash flow. So if they increase their prices by 1%, it adds on 496,124 in their cash flow. If when they increase their volume in terms of sales, it adds 178,108, just by 1%. So as you can see, there's previous information that then leads up to this. I can't show you now for time. And then we looked at how much would they add on to their cash flow if they reduce their overhead by 1%. So this company, if they just reduce their overheads by 1%, they would have added, or they could add 129,023 rand onto their cash flow, reducing accounts receivable days. Just by collecting 1 day earlier, they add 162,664 onto their cash, into their bank account, and reducing their work in progress by 1 day. If they deliver work just by 1 day better than or earlier or sooner than they do, they increase their cash flow by, again, by 162,664. So you can see that there's a direct relationship between completing work on time and being paid by your client. So there's a very close relationship there. And then also increasing the the accounts payable days. So this company, by paying their supplier a day later, instead of not wanting to have paid, they added 100,965 rand onto their cash flow just by holding on to their money. So there's information before this, and then the total increase in their cash flow just by applying 1% or 1 day's improvement, it came up to a total of 1,547,564. So then they moved from a profit of 9 million to 10 million and a net cash flow from 11 million to 12 million. So just by 1% improvement, imagine what you can do with 5%. Imagine what you can do with 10% improvement in these areas of your business. Okay, I need to get back to the. Okay, I'm almost done. Please don't fall asleep. Almost done. I know accounting is yeah. We try to make it interesting though. So the last part, tax planning and how it affects your cash flow. So remember, when it comes to tax planning, you need to do it before you actually spend the money. Either you study yourself how a certain transaction, buying a house using your company, buying a house in your personal capacity, buying a car using a company, buying a car in your personal capacity, driving the company car. I had a few conversation of the company paying your kids' school fees, the company paying for your car, for your petrol. You need to understand what impact that has. I work with a lot of let me not expose my client. So I hear a lot of people talking about such things. Can I pay my child's school fees using my company? So you need to understand how that applies or affects you. I've had a client recently who purchased a car using the company and SARS. So the thing about SARS now, they can actually go into your bank account and then come to you and say, oh, yeah, I see you're making 20 million per year. And there you state that you are earning 1 million on a tax return. What's the difference? Without your permission, they can do that. You can be selected for an audit. They even tell you for this and this and this and this bank account. So you are making 20 million. The tax is supposed to be on 20 million. However, now if you don't have financial statements, because you're supposed to be taxed on profit, not on how much went into your bank account. So it's very, very important to understand that the government has access to this information now. So doing undercover, it catches up at some point. So you need to tread very, very carefully that. And things like paying for your personal expenses to the business, it affects things benefit tax. So like I was saying, we had a client bought cars using his business and that came back and said, look, you've got these cars purchased by the business, using them for your personal capacity, you need to tax the fringe benefits from those vehicles. And they were taxed, we helped them. And however, because we're able to do the financial statement in their personal capacity, so we do two sets of financials for the company, two sets of another set of financials for yourself, because you take money from your company. So we need to show SARS to say that when people loan you money and then you put it in your business to help your business. So then financial statements help to tell us that this 20 million that I received as yarn is coming from my business. Maybe I'm transferring it to these other 5 accounts. So it adds up to 20 million. I'm not really making 20 million. But you can only do that through financial statements. So those are one of the things that you need to plan before you spend your money. And then why is it important to include tax on your cash flow budget? I've spoken about that. Include tax so that you don't miss paying tax. You can stay compliant. So when you do your budget, always budget how much tax you need to pay. A lot of us business owners have gotten into trouble with late payment. You also get charged penalties. So when you get charged penalties, you are losing money. SARS can charge you up to 200% on penalties for not submitting a return or not paying a tax on time. So So these are the risks that we face as business owners. And also know, there are strategies also when you are in huge tax debt. SARS allows you to negotiate your debt with them. You can either pay on installment or have it reduced. So that's another cash flow management tool or strategy that you can use. And then I've spoken about avoiding last minute scrambles, effective tax planning. So it helps you stay compliant. And then also, yeah, I think I've spoken about that. I'm going to move along. And what are the strategies that you can use? So I just want to share with you a couple of strategies when it comes to receiving of income. Some business owners or companies are family owned. You've got multiple of the family members working in the business. Some family members not working who could be skilled and qualified to do some work. Yourself, the wife, the children when they're of age of working. So instead of the speaker taking 200,000 a month, you could split that income. And each person in the house staying together gets to have some responsibilities. You're gonna buy groceries. You're gonna pay for the car. So income splitting works, especially for family-owned business. People who are living together. So it helps you get tax less because if I take 200,000 as opposed to 100,000 myself, 50 for my wife, 50 for my child, and we are managing our household expenses, that helps. You're gonna pay for this. You're gonna pay for this. The tax bracket, you get taxed on a lesser tax bracket. So those are one of those strategies. And then maximizing on deductions. You really need to understand tax deductions. If you don't use a tax practitioner, there's a lot of tax deductions like contributing to retirement fund, some investment, it's for tax-free investment, it's for retirement annuities that you can contribute to. A SARS can give you a tax deduction for medical aid. So there's a lot of deductions. And all this information is available on their website, or you can just speak to your accountant, make it quicker and easier for you. And then also, small deductions like home office setup. Some of you work from home. You can get a deduction from working from home because you are in your home, you're only paying a bond or a rent, and you're doing work, you're doing business. Or you're driving your car as well. Are you keeping a logbook? You can claim for kilometers that you're using your personal car for work. So those are some of those deductions. And then I've spoken about retirement contributions. And then capital gains, whenever you're selling an asset, you need to also understand how much you're going to be taxed. When you're selling a property, what are the tax implications for that? So before you actually enter into the transaction, because you might negotiate lesser than and the tax will come and hit you, and you've lost a lot of money. So that is also needed to be understood. Also losses. I heard also, I think the previous speaker talking about even if your financial statement, even if you're making losses for 3 years, 4 years, that can be good for you because what happens with losses, they accumulate. And when you start making a profit, say now you made a loss of 3 million, it's non-taxable, and then you start making a profit of 2 million, you're not going to be taxed because those losses from the previous year are accumulating and they set off those profits. So again, financial statements, whether you're making a loss or you're making a profit, very good for you. And then the last few strategies, fringe benefits for business owners and your team. So this is providing non-cash benefits like health insurance. Let the business pay for those expenses. You can even, once the company makes enough money to be able to afford those benefits for your team, for yourself, do travel reimbursement, also wellness packs for employees and also for yourself, because as business owners, we tend to neglect these important requirements. Something happens, you get an accident, or an employee gets an accident, no one is covered, even yourself. Yet you work so hard as a business owner. Very important. However, it can also save you a lot of cash if you implement these benefits in your company. And then, yeah, so also business structuring. Also very important in terms of cash flow management. How do you structure your business? Who are the shareholders? We've got trust, setting up of trust. Again, I spoke about companies buying the property. Very, very important business structure that you can have a conversation and it can actually help you save a lot of cash if you structure your business properly. You don't have to own all your businesses yourself personally. You don't really have to do that. So it's very, very important to structure your businesses. They are tax saving methods and how you can structure your business. But it works for you and you end up becoming your own bank more than anything. If you structure your company well, the bank needs you more than anything. So we want to build ourselves to get to the position where these businesses, not only assets to be resold, but assets where we can go and borrow money from and our business is owing us, the money that's coming to you every month, it's no longer a salary, you are being repaid. So all of that is very, very highly important. And yeah, that's me. I am done. Oh, lastly, I'm not giving this away. Cash management.